We're at it again, guys. Welcome back. My name's Gareth. This is Tech Check. And you're probably thinking, oh my God, what's he doing now? And the answer to your question is a recent subscriber has reached out and asked me to see if we'd be able to help him. Okay, so he's got an older PC here with newer hardware installed, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. But could we take everything out of this computer, do a bit of a transplant and install it all into this computer? This one being a little bit more dated, this one being a little bit more modern. It's got RGB, etc, etc. It's got a bit more airflow to it as well. So hopefully it will provide some visual increases or improvements, and he can obviously get rid of his old one. So stick around, guys, and if you've not done already, smash that subscriber button, leave a thumbs up, and I really appreciate your support. Oh, it's going to be filthy dirty. Oh, pretty nice little system inside, actually. What's that? 1660? It is, yeah, 1660 Super. So it's 6 gig card. We've got a nice CS650 power supply here, which is a modular one, which is, yes, it's modular, thank God. I can see he's rocking 2 SSDs. Looks like a Kingston, not sure about that one because I can't see it. Probably rocking an AMD, that looks like, yeah it is, it's a Tomahawk. So it's a B450 motherboard, so he's obviously got a Ryzen CPU in there. Don't know what CPU's in there at this moment in time, probably a 3 series, something like that. So I can see he's got quite a lot of RAM in there as well, so we'll have a look at that. That's quite clean actually. Could do just with the fans or the shroud taking off and a good clean, but other than that, it don't look to be in bad condition at all. And it's a lovely little card this is. Great value card, guys. 1660 Supers, 1660 Ti's, 6 gigs of VRAM, and absolutely fantastic for 1080p at around 100, 120 FPS. So fantastic little card, but like every other GPU, we can't get hold of them. In fact, before we do that, it's a semi-modular power supply, which is good. Oh, what's this? That must have been that must have been in there just in case you needed to undo any screws. But yeah, a little driver bit there. 3000. So we've got 32 gigs of C16 LPX RAM. There's our cooler. Unplug our CPU fan header. Don't put that anywhere. So what I'm doing now, guys, is I'm just unscrewing the motherboard. It doesn't look like it's got enough screws in it anyway. There we go. Right. I've got the biggest range of screws ever. I've never seen so many different screws in one computer. And this is why, guys, you clean your computers out. And again, guys, I don't know whether that's picking that up at all. So there we go, guys. Nice and clean, all the components, lovely and all blown out, all dusted down and basically looking like new. It's amazing what older boards can look like and older components can look like when they've actually been cleaned. So what we've now found is in this particular Tomahawk 450 board is it's actually got a Ryzen 5 3600, which is an absolute fantastic gaming chip, guys. So what we're going to do now, guys, is we are going to basically just take a quick look at this case and get everything into this new one and hopefully get a fully fledged working system. So as you can see, guys, it's got a tempered glass front panel here. It's also got a tempered side panel as well. Now the other side is solid. I don't know what it is. It's probably it feels like steel, to be quite honest with you, painted steel. So, but not a bad finish. And again, it's got 3 fans in the front, 1, 2, 3, and it's got one which is at the rear at the back as an exhaust. It has got 2 spacers up here if you wanted to fit a 240 or a 280 all in one just up here. That would be a bonus, but obviously seeing as we're using our fan cooler there, we won't need that. What do we get in here? We get a bag of goodies, which is good. What we got? We've obviously got all of our screws. We get, okay, this is for your RGB fans. It's a fan hub and it also comes with a remote, which is good. So, first things first then guys, let's just have a quick look at what we've got in terms of connectivity. So we've got a USB 3, we've got HD audio, and we've got USB 2. So decent connectivity on the top. It looks like we've got 2 USB 2s and 1 USB 3. We've got a decent cutout here for the power supply. It's not got a shroud, so these cables are going to be on show, but due to the fact we've got a semi-modular power supply, that will massively help. Hopefully we'll be able to control the fan speed with that, and obviously the colour with that box as well, that fan hub. So 3 at the front, 1 at the rear. Plenty of intake, even though at the side of the case you can see those holes down there. There isn't a huge amount of space for air to come in there, but that being said, it doesn't look like it's going to be massively restricted. Right then guys, first rule is do as much outside of the case as you physically can. So in this situation, we've obviously already got our CPU, which is in its socket, but what we can do is we can obviously make sure, just for demonstration purposes, what we want to make sure is the triangle on the bottom of the processor or the CPU matches the triangle which is on your CPU socket. Okay, so literally just be mindful as well guys, the pins are on the CPU on Ryzen processors, they're not in the socket themselves, so please don't go dropping this in here. Nice, steady, calm. Okay, so triangle to triangle, there we go, that's in position. Lever can be locked into place, and that's our CPU done. Next thing is our RAM guys, and just mindful is there is a slot here right in the middle, but it's not in the middle, it's more to the left than it is to the right. So all we've got to do is make sure that our slots are open, or DIMM slots are open. We line up the notch on our RAM stick with the notch that's on the DIMM slot, and we can put them in. Now, nice firm even pressure until you hear a click. There we go. One thing that I would say to you guys is we've actually got 4 sticks of RAM and there is 4 DIMM slots. If you have only got 2 DIMMs, then you should be, from the outside of your motherboard, you should be putting in that one, missing one, and then putting one in. So in, out, and then you can shake it all about. Right, next step guys, before we move on, one step that a lot or majority of people will forget is putting your IO shield into the back of the case. Okay, so fairly straightforward. All we need to do is make sure it's orientated the correct way. We can pop it into the case and move the cables out the way. There we go. Right, and you just need to give it a firm push until it, there we go, one, that one, there we go, 1, 2, last one, there we go, and you will see that that's now firmly in place. When we're installing the motherboard guys, we just want to make sure, try and keep your hands off the back of the motherboard, okay, and you want to make sure that the standoffs are in the correct positions for your holes on your motherboard. Okay, so nice and gentle. You want to make sure that the motherboard is lining up with your IO shield. That looks pretty good to me. And let's just check the standoff screws. So again guys, all we're going to do is, we don't want to go mental with these, tighten them in, because we don't want to crack the motherboard. It's also helpful if you've got a magnetic screwdriver as well. So nicely put them in. So guys, if you've been following along, you will see it looks something like this. So you've got your CPU installed, you've got your RAM installed, you've got your motherboard installed, okay? Next step will be to fit our CPU cooler, which we'll do in a minute, and then we will go on to mounting our SSD, our HDD, finally our power supply, and lastly but not least, our GPU. Sorry guys, I was just putting the HD audio, USB 2, USB 3 and the front panel connectors onto the board just to figure out how much length I've got of cables at the back of here, and I figured out that the power cables or the front panel connectors are quite tight. So that's one of the reasons why I like to get them on. Number one, because by the time the power supply and everything is into the case, you don't sometimes have a load of room to work with. So just to give you an idea, and not only that, I like to see how much room I've got to play with and see what the connections are actually like as well. So as you can see there, you've got USB 3, which is closest this way. You've got then the USB 2, then you've got the front panel connectors, and at the far end you've got your HD audio. There we go guys, so you can see now we've got our SSDs, one at the top up here and our HDD at the bottom down here. These are connected via SATA power and SATA data straight to the motherboard. So next thing guys is the power supply. Obviously this is well, semi-modular power supply, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to slide it in from the side around here, okay? And then we'll attach it at the back with the 4 screws. Make sure that you do have your fan, which is facing down. If you have a vent at the bottom or a filter at the bottom, that will mean that it's not blowing all crap into your system and it's going to be much cleaner. So what we've got with the fans guys is we've got this little fan hub here, okay? On the fan hub it requires SATA power, and it's also got an RGB header that needs going to the motherboard as well. On the back it's actually got some magnets as well. So what we need to do now guys is just hook up our fans. Now we've just got to be mindful that these cables are not hugely long, so I just want to find a position where we can get all of these in together. So we've got one up here, there we go. Right, 1, 2, 3, and then our 4th one, which is there. So let's put these in. Is there any particular order? Yes, there is. So we want one in here. So not gonna lie guys, the cable management in this case is not so good because of this RGB hub down here. There's not a great deal you can actually do with it. Just so everybody's aware, because I know that this is obviously a case that a lot of you guys are going to be looking at due to obviously the price. You can connect your reset switch to the back of this RGB or fan hub, which will allow you to change the fan speeds with your reset button. What this also requires guys is a 3-pin RGB connector to be obviously controlled on your motherboard. Now we don't necessarily need that because we've got a remote here, but if you did want to use that, then you would need to get a 3-pin to a 4-pin RGB extender cable, and then you could connect it to your motherboard. With that shambles out of the way back there, what I'm going to do guys is I'm going to connect our fan for our CPU, and for that we're just going to use some trusty MX4. There we go, just a pea-sized shape in the middle. We've got our CPU fan here. All we're going to do is attach it at the back like so. This is obviously quite a bit bigger than like a Wraith Prism or something like that, so obviously this should give us decent performance. Now that we've got our CPU fan connected, we can now attach it to our header on our motherboard. So all you've got to do now, guys, is break off these little brackets at the back up here, and then that's normally slot number 2 and slot number 3. We can then offer our GPU up, and we're looking for making sure our PCIe lane is open or slot is open, and we're looking for a confirmation click. There we go. And then all we've got to do, guys, is reattach our bracket at the back. Right then, guys, so now that that's done, we can attach our PCIe cable. There we go, nicely done. And guys, there you are, that's what it will look like. So there you are, guys, we have a fully fledged system. I'm sure the customer will be absolutely over the moon with it. In my opinion, it looks really, really clean. I'll give you a bit of a close-up and a walk round once we've done. But what I'll do is I'll just tear this plastic off so we can get a better look. We'll put a bit of power. Wow! Electric shock. We'll put a bit of power into it and we'll see what it actually looks like. I'm really pleased with that, to be fair. So, things to take away from this build, guys, okay? This CIT Raider case, in actual fact, from a builder's perspective, is really, really nice to build in. It's got all the cutouts in the right places. It's got adequate spacing. You've got plenty of places for your SSDs or your HDDs. There's reasonable cable routing as well. For me, things that it's missing would be a PSU shroud, and to be quite honest with you, whilst the fans look really nice and you do get decent airflow, the actual fan hub that it comes with is not very good. I looked it up on Amazon and it retails for about $4.99, which tells you kind of the whole picture. You get what you pay for, but there you go, I can hear it spinning up or ramping up. Just so you know, there is a trick with this as well, where you can actually take your reset button off of your motherboard and you can put it in the back of that fan hub, and by pressing the reset button, you can actually change the speed of the fans as well. You can stop them like that, and you can have them going full pelt or 50%. So it's a good little hack there. So guys, I'm hoping that you've enjoyed the video. I've enjoyed building it. I'm hoping to put a smile on the customer's face as well. If you haven't done so already, feel free to subscribe to the channel, leave a thumbs up, and I'll give you a bit of a walk around this one now, and I'll see you in the next one.